Oh. Did you hear that? Feel all that loving energy? Oh. Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, let's talk about. I think of that little taco. He's like, let's talk about it. But let's talk about Keith. All right. Keith Thurman went into the biggest fight of his career against Manny Pacquiao on Saturday. And what I saw from Keith Thurman in total by the end of the night, I really liked. And let me explain it. Before the fight, Keith Thurman promoted the hell out of both himself and the fight in the things that he was saying before the fight about what he was going to do in the fight and how he was going to remind Manny how old he was and all that stuff. And while some people, like if you're a huge, like emotionally connected Manny Pacquiao fan, and even like me, like as a Manny Pacquiao fan, yeah, I was like, you in trouble, Keith. But Keith, it didn't seem like bad-hearted. Is that a word? It didn't seem like it didn't seem out of place. It's what boxers should do, I think, in promotions. Is if that's your character. Now, if Manny Pacquiao started doing that kind of stuff, it wouldn't be in his normal frame. Keith is such a different type of guy. I felt like he was promoting himself, promoting the fight. Then, just as importantly, and more importantly, in the fight, he fought with courage and tenacity in the face of something that, frankly, he had never seen before, probably in a boxing ring. In the type of attack that Manny Pacquiao can have, the kind of success he can have. And then after the fight, the split decision, and a split decision sometimes can give people an excuse to pretend like they won the fight, but he didn't do any of that, right? He was disappointed. You could see his disappointment when they announced he lost the fight, but he gave respect to Manny Pacquiao and said that he was a better man tonight and he was a better fighter, and that additionally that Keith had learned from this experience. I really like all of that together. I wasn't like super happy with the first thing, what was happening, but in a total package, I can really get behind a fighter doing all those things in that way. And I just wanted to give credit to Keith Thurman for doing that.
Yeah, fighters can like promote fights in that way. I actually thought it was a little odd for Keith Thurman, given his persona
His
that he
chill
puts
demeanor.
out there. You know, this like.
He's a good talker, though. He's the kind of guy who talks about himself in the third person.
Right, like he does that, so in that way it fit. Yeah, but like most what I like about Keith Thurman is that he's just Keith Thurman.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I feel like I can always depend on him to just be himself. And I think that that's a really like special thing because not everybody is that. And I've struggled with being myself for like most of my life.
Yeah.
Like I've spent most of my life trying to be who I thought I should be, which is it's fine to aspire to be like the best version of yourself, but that's living your life as like who you should be instead of just who you are. It's like two different things.
Or if you're when we say something like if Kelsey wants to be who Kelsey thinks he should be, oftentimes what Kelsey thinks he should be has to do with what Kelsey thinks other people think, really.
Right. Yeah.
And what we all probably should be is who we are, and we shouldn't worry about what other people think about us. I do think that Keith Thurman is an interesting and dynamic character in boxing, and in boxing is already full of characters. But if you can kind of make yourself out to be a character within a whole group of characters, that's a big thing. I saw an article at Yahoo that said that Keith Thurman actually gained fans in this loss, perhaps, because of all the things that I mentioned and how he handled himself and how he fought, most importantly, how he fought in the fight, which I was super impressed with. What do you think about that? Do you think that people might see Keith in this way? Might be drawn to Keith because of.
Yeah, I think like anytime somebody there are certain qualities that we all find admirable, and so courage is like across the board, across cultures, across time, something that so there's examples like that, and I think humility is another example where people are naturally attracted to humility, and humility doesn't mean
real humility.
Yeah, like it doesn't mean that you're like, oh, I'm no good,
yeah,
or
Manny,
or that you try to like blend in and not be noticed. Humility is just like being who you are. Like I equate it with honesty, and so that's what I see in Keith Thurman. He just is who he is, and I do think that that is something that attracts people. Just like people are attracted to authenticity, to genuineness. Like these are things that like attract people. And yeah, so I totally get that. And I think what this provided a very big opportunity for Keith to just show that to more and more people.
Yeah.
So like
huge stage for him.
Yeah.
And a guy that's been on some pretty big stages already. Let's not forget some of his fights.
Right, but like so somebody like me, what I saw when he fought Danny Garcia was
I want to beat this as a dead horse, but we're gonna
was with like is I saw somebody I wasn't attracted to that. I was like, oh, like that made me like, you know, want to push like Thurman away, and I was like, oh, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not what I'm looking for out there. And that's okay because everybody's on a journey and you're not like, you know, certainly not even perfect or near perfect all the time. Like you can make a mistake and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this was a huge stage for him to like show, whether he did it intentionally or not, he did show like those admirable qualities that I think do attract people. And so I think that that's completely reasonable. Also, this is one of those situations that it's like win-win for Thurman, because when you fight somebody as great as Manny Pacquiao, like you win, it's fantastic. You lose,
it can be just as good as long as you fight a good, hard fight. And he did, and he was smart. He adjusted after the first 6 rounds, which were pretty one-sided in my opinion. He did definitely adjust and made the fight competitive. He threw some hard punches, was able to like really like, there were a couple punches that he landed on Pacquiao that I was like, uh-oh. You know, but Pacquiao amazingly absorbed those and got through the fight the winner. Keith Thurman, what are you going to do next, brother? That's what I want to know. So I'm really interested in your career. Rachel sounds like she's interested in your career. I think you have a lot more fans today than you did before, just from the exposure. So what's next for Keith Thurman, though, Rachel? Like, I'm partially afraid that he's going to disappear for another year because he didn't fight all of 2018. But he, you know, he did have some injuries, so I'm going to just assume that he took his time getting back from them. They weren't like hugely serious. It's not like he tore.
It's hard to tell, you know. He just got married.
He did have injuries during that year.
He's a interesting guy.
He just made a boatload of money, probably.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I feel confident that Keith Thurman's going to do whatever's best for Keith Thurman, and it might not be what, like, Rachel and Kelsey
but what if Rachel and Kelsey could decide who he's going to fight next? Who would that be? Do you have a person in mind? Or people?
I feel like this is a really stacked division. Like, I feel like it's, like, so many people that he could fight. So, obviously, like, if you wanted a rematch with Pacquiao, why would Pacquiao do that? I have no idea.
I don't think that's on the table, Keith. I think Keith wants that fight, but I don't think Pacquiao has no reason to do that.
No, like he's in the twilight of his career, and there's just no reason for that. Yeah,
and it was a pretty clear, decisive win for Pacquiao. While I did enjoy parts of the fight, I thought it was closer to like 8 rounds before-ish than it was anything else.
I mean, couldn't he fight Garcia again?
Yeah, Danny Garcia rematch would be interesting. I think at the time when they fought, they were in different places, and I think both would need wins more this time, right? Instead of trying not to lose the fight or doing what they can. And it might be just fair to say that both. It happens when you're undefeated and like you think, hey, I think I'm ahead in this fight. I think that's smart. I'm not against that, but what I'm saying is they both suffered losses since then. Neither one of them has a title belt, and both of them need to win badly over a really good opponent, and both of them are really good opponents for each other. I think they're both very excellent welterweights. Another name in mind is Adrian Broner, who I can't believe I'm saying this, but Adrian Broner was talking kind of lots of noise if you check Twitter and stuff like that about talking about basically saying that Keith Thurman, he was gambling with Keith Thurman the week of the Pacquiao fight, basically saying Keith wasn't taken seriously. I think that's just Adrian Broner trying to talk himself into things. And, you know, I don't really care what Keith was doing. Keith was being Keith, and Keith fought excellently that night. Definitely better than Adrian Broner fought against Pacquiao. He actually tried to win the fight. But that's another fight that if you didn't want to go the Danny Garcia route, you could fight a guy like Adrian Broner who has a big name, who has a good history of world titles, but isn't really an elite welterweight, right? It would be a guy that you could fight, and I think would definitely win that fight, would be a pretty big favorite. And that's the end of the show today, guys. You'll know from now on, and we do appreciate your like, comment, subscribes, that when we're just done talking, we're just going to stop, pause, and just look at each other like, well, Rachel, tell the folks what they've won today.
You've won.
Me.
More of Kelsey with his faces. What about noises? Spit went everywhere. All right. Well, if that doesn't entice you to like, comment, subscribe, I don't know what will. Thanks for watching.